Living well with limits without giving up on life. At some point in life, many people encounter limits they didn't choose, limits of energy, limits of health, limits of time, limits of what they can realistically carry. And when that happens, a quiet fear often appears. Not fear of discomfort, but fear of what those limits might mean. Is this my life now? Have I already peaked? Am I slowly giving up? Today, I want to talk about how to live well with the limits, not by pretending that they aren't there, and not by surrendering to them either, but by understanding what limits really ask of us, what they really mean, why limits feel like failure. We live in a culture that quietly equates capacity with worth. More energy means more value, more productivity means more relevance. Fewer limits means more success. So when limits appear, they're really experienced neutrally. They feel personal, like a verdict. People just don't think, I can't do this anymore. They think, I should be able to. This is where suffering deepens. Because limits are not only encountered, they are judged, and the judgment often hurts more than the limit itself. Limits are not the same as resignation. There is an important distinction that is rarely explained. Accepting limits is not the same as giving up. Resignation says there's nothing left to do. Acceptance says this is the reality I must now work with. Limits don't end life, they reshape it. They change how effort is applied, how success is measured, how meaning is found. When people resist limits completely, they exhaust themselves fighting reality. When they resign to limits entirely, they shrink unnecessarily. Living well lies between these two extremes. How limits can refine rather than reduce life. One of the quieter truths about limits is they force discernment. What you can no longer do everything, you are compelled to ask what actually matters. It limits reduce noise, they narrow choices, but they often deepen attention. Many people living with limits discover greater intentionality, fewer performative goals, more honest relationships, a clearer sense of what is enough. Not because limits are pleasant, but because they strip away what was never essential. This is not romanticizing difficulty, it is recognizing how human beings adapt meaningfully when forced to slow down. A different definition of living well. Living well with limits often looks unimpressive from the outside. It may involve smaller routines, quieter days, fewer visible achievements, slower timelines, but internally, it can involve greater self respect, reduced self betrayal, more sustained effort, deeper peace with one's own pace. Living well is not the same as living maximally. It is living honestly within what your life can now hold. If your life has narrowed in ways you didn't choose, that doesn't mean it has become smaller. It has become more precise. Living well with limits does not mean lowering your dignity, it means protecting it. And often it means discovering a form of strength that only appears when the excess falls away. This is living well within your limits. This has been plain wisdom, simple ideas, lasting clarity.